My name is Kit.
My name's Madison.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things, continuing our coverage of Lost Season 1. This time, Episode 13, Hearts and Minds. Now let's get through the bullshit as quickly as possible, because I got to talk about this. You can email the show at streamingthingspod@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, we would be so grateful if you have the ability to do that. You can go to patreon.com/streamingthings. That gives you access to all kinds of bonus after hours episodes.
Ooh, we just did
to
one.
vote on. We did a holiday one. We talked a lot about bottoms and tops and Godzilla.
Yeah.
Instead of holidays.
As you do.
That's how the after hours episodes go. So you can hear those, but also extra movie reviews and breakdowns that people vote on. And access to our Discord family. You can also go to streamingthingspod.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. We love you.
Where it's at.
Okay, bullshit aside, holy shit, this episode, guys.
Hearts
This shit was crazy.
and minds.
We're going to talk about our overall thoughts. If Madison and I have never seen the show before. Steve has. We've got a few skits in the games at the end. There's sister fucking in this? I love how smutty and low the show just got. I knew Ian Somerhalder was there for a reason, and it just hadn't gotten to it yet. How many jokes did I make about how kind of weird with her he was?
Literally.
So many. And I'm over here like, I can't wait till Hearts and Minds.
So we were spot on. It wasn't like we were being weird.
I know. Well, didn't we discuss maybe they were kind of written to be a couple at first, but then they I
thought it was a thing, or it was a couple, and they changed it to brother and sister.
And I was like, oh, that's why
they left the subtext in.
Yeah, they're two young, beautiful looking women. Oh God!
Is this the start of the stepsister craze in the adult industry?
Maybe.
That's
Lost,
wild.
Possibly.
Interesting.
We can all thank Carlton Cuse for this.
Wow.
I love that the entire episode is just about Locke trying to therapize him to stop fucking his sister. He's like, you gotta let it go, man. We gotta we need to find out what's in this hatch.
Shit.
You can't be banging your sister anymore. Okay. We got important things to do, and you are obsessed with it. I get it, man.
I can see it. I know everyone else on this island might be an idiot, but I can see what you're doing to her a mile away. Just you can't look at her and play creepy music as you stare at her from across the beach.
Yeah. And
that's not a good sign.
I was picking those vibes up last episode, and I'm glad they went there, because that makes so much more sense. It would be campy and dumb if he didn't bang her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense. Wow.
So
I remember my mouth was just dry. I was like, oh shit. Especially
you're in
was
love
it
with me.
Was it Brian that said that he was in love with her? Or no, it was Shannon.
It was Shannon. She walks in drunk, and she's like, look, I know you want this. And he's like, stop. I don't, but I do.
You cannot have this. You cannot have this. And then he has this.
You'll never get this. You'll never get this. One day he break out of cage, and he get this.
And he get this.
Oh,
so my notes on that moment are, ha, 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 ha. They fuck.
That's so weird.
And then I put, Boone is distraught, LOL.
I was so happy when this episode came up, because I knew this was going to happen. I knew this episode was happening because it's kind of an infamous episode.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I knew that you guys would lose your shit over it. So as soon as I hit play and it focuses on Boone staring at Shannon, I'm like, this is fucking it. Yes, we're here.
I'm going to make a video on TikTok about this, actually.
You should.
This is fodder. Mm-hmm. This is wild shit.
It's crazy.
The hatch, and then his sister's hatch in the same episode. Madison, what are your overall thoughts on episode 13, the lucky number?
I think we've kind of gone over at least the big part of it. I mean, the big twist of them fucking and is just crazy to me. We find out that they're not even related. They are step siblings. So that was nice. But I had a really good time with this episode. I was engaged from front to end.
Ooh.
Soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts.
Aside from, the step sibling affair, I thought it was cool to see, Boone tied up.
Yeah, you did.
Well, and although
Suck me, Daddy.
it did end up becoming a imaginary sequence, I did like that there was the monster element brought back. That was fun. Had a little bit of action in there. And then Still getting to see some characters together that we hadn't before, like Hurley and Jin, Kate and Sun. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, I had a really good time with this episode, and I'm excited to dive more into it. So
yeah. Steve, what about you? Revisiting episode 13, of course.
I was so happy to revisit this episode because, again, it's an infamous one. I think a lot of people sort of, because I remember at the time this
Where
episode,
is this ranked? Is this like people like this, or is it just like
Well, I remember at the time this was like a mixed to negatively reviewed epised, and I think it's because people just weren't ready for sister fucking.
But now
it was such a quaint. It was a much more quaint time. And now people are like, yeah.
Nobody knows what it means. It's provocative.
Yeah. So like, I think it challenged the status quo of what a relationship was.
Yeah. Forbidden.
Yeah. Like
Taboo.
this land of babes. It could be your sister babe. It could be your mommy babe.
okay, Travis. Tuning into your Travis from Yellow Jackets.
Yeah. We did the Wrapped episode and I missed that character.
Bringing him back.
Bringing him back.
Cross streaming.
But, I think the whole... I really like Ian Somerhalder, specifically his performance in this. And I think Lost gets very art house cinema in this episode because of the taboo topic of, pseudo incest, even though they're not actually blood relatives. But just that scene.
We're not here to debate the morality of that.
No, not at all.
But I mean, Brady Bunch did it first.
Siblings.
Yeah, Brady Bunch did do it first.
I'm going to soundbite that.
Just fuck them.
Just fine.
Life's short.
We're in Kentucky. It's fine.
But just the scene where it cuts from them like kissing and then that like he's out of focus, but like in red and like a dark room. Like that's like the most artsy shot ever committed to like a primetime national televised TV show at this point in time. But not only do you get that sort of like elevated, squirmy sort of narrative, you also get a lot of fun stuff going on with Hurley and Jin. Kate finally picks up that Sun knows English, which is just
fucking
a great
finally
moment, right?
That was bugging me so much.
And then the only sort of like nitpick I have with this episode really is just like the 180 that Jack's disposition is in this episode. Like last episode, I was like, "Oh, Kate, why are you being such a butt munch?" And then
Kate just like let him process it, and instead of being angry that he treated her like complete shit, she's just like, "Hey, check out my seeds."
And he's all flirty and like, don't remember that thing I told you yesterday.
He said, "Plant my seeds."
Peg me. That's what he means.
Probably.
That's his Jack impersonation for new initiates.
Well, that scene where she's like, "I can see you." She didn't actually see him. She heard him just in the woods. Jack, I know you're back there.
I can hear you hyperventilating.
I wasn't spying. I was just
waiting
over here to tell you something.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I like this episode a lot.
I loved it. This might be my favorite.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know this was trashy. This is my shit. I didn't know it was going full Riverdale. I'm in.
Oh, okay.
Full Riverdale.
I'm
Interesting.
in. I'm fucking in now. Like, just like Boone. Yeah, the only way it could have been better is if he also fucked Locke in this episode. That would have made it better.
Hey, we have to stretch out a whole season, okay?
If Locke had looked at Boone and said, "I do know a way to get into that hatch." You know what I'm saying? Meaning his butthole, Steve.
Or what was the last line of the series? Like, we got
Follow
work.
me.
He got work. He's like, "Follow me. I got work to do." And he just kind of stands up and starts
And unzips.
just like unbuckling.
Just whips it out.
I think Terry O'Quinn is the diamond of this show. He's just
so good.
I mean, he's like,
very good.
even though I kind of don't like what they're doing, it's a little annoying. Like, we don't know what he's seen. We don't know anything about what's going on. And I can see why this would be frustrating if like these questions aren't answered. I would be furious, and probably will be based on everybody else in the world's reaction. Like, what the fuck is going on this island, right? Like, they keep alluding to it's changing. It's altering Shannon's shoe size, Steve. From the inane to the serious, this island is doing things. And now, Locke, we've already seen his backstory. He actually doesn't have any training or anything to explain his preternatural ability to survive in the wilderness or anything. He's like read some books, but they're making it seem like he really
he was a Weebolo.
he was in Nam
Right.
for 10 years, you know?
I mean, have you been a Weebolo? That's basically
I
nom.
never have been. I never have been.
I've never even heard that term before.
That's like a 10-year-old's nom, right?
But at the same time, I love the character, you know? And
Yeah.
like Charlie says it best, you know? Do I trust him? Everybody here, I have complete faith that he's going to save us all, you know? But at the same time, he's kind of villainous. And, you know, because he's got that, he's giving Dr. Manhattan, like, his knowledge of the universe is so high that it just seems like he's evil because he's doing things on a different, he's operating on a different level.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
there's that thing he says to Boone early on where Boone's like, why don't we tell everybody about the hatch? He's like, they're not ready yet. Like that's some, you know, the peons aren't ready to know.
For what? Like, it seems like to me as a viewer watching this, it's like, hey guys, we found a door. We don't know where it goes or how to open it. That's something for everybody, you know? Because you
He's
don't
just trying to gatekeep.
exactly your hatch keeping.
Hatchkeeping.
Housekeeping.
But at the same time, I had some thoughts while watching this. I was so grateful to see Jen and Sun, some of my favorite characters again. It's been so long. And because of the strike, it feels like I haven't seen them in 5 months, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of my problems are biased because we paused for so long. But at the same time, I also felt like this episode was kind of juggling too many characters. You know, I was kind of like, I don't give a fuck. Oh, Michael found his luggage. That's a mystery. I don't give a fuck. You know,
It's like
But-
they didn't have to throw that in there.
Yeah,
if
little
they
things like
didn't want
that.
to, you know.
but we'll see. I think by the end of it, I was like, it was nice. Fuck it. That was cool. And I can't wait to keep going. I say that every week, but let's dive right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
So
Eyeball.
it opens with eyeball, as always.
Always.
It's a shtick. I appreciate, you know. Boone's still comically angry. We don't yet know why. Staring at his sister and Saeed flirting.
I just love those tiny horror movie notes they underscore the scene with.
Yeah. Like he's
This rising
So at the
tension
beginning,
note.
I thought because the French woman alluded to the power on the island can actually like make
change you.
possess people. Kind of
Yeah.
is the vibe that I got. So I started thinking, oh no, is Boone like Dunzo for the rest of the show? Like he's just in evil quantity now.
He and Locke are going out into the woods and somehow he got infected.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
That's what I thought. And
The
then
hatch is like admitting some evil
Mwomp.
voodoo.
Womp, fuck your sister. Womp. he brought her, Saeed brings Shannon a present and it's some dead bitch's shoes.
Uggo looking heels.
And I like that when he says it too, he's like, I mean, I have no use for them. Like he's such a bad gift giver, right? Like at least
Also,
act
what
like
is
it's
she gonna
something
do with
precious.
these shoes.
Oh, they're
I
almost
just-
my size.
I love this scene because stupid, sexy Saeed, you could argue the layman might think, oh, he's got no game.
Uh-huh.
I argue Saeed has all the game because he's like, hey, I got you this shoe. I have no use for them. And then when she's like, oh, they're almost my size. The island is, my feet are bloated or whatever. He goes like, oh, another mystery of the island revealed. It's like, fuck, Saeed. Oh my God.
I haven't been measuring your feet while you sleep at all. That's a surprise to me that these are your size.
I'm very
Shannon's
good
like,
with
okay,
mechanics."
Tarantino. Chill out.
Exactly. He goes full Tarantino. And Hurley. So this scene is wild to me. He should have just pulled the "it's my dick in a box" joke. I got you a present. Open it. Oh. Another mystery of the island revealed. How big is my dick? Hurley.
That's the next like big pickup line is you ask somebody a question, they answer you, and you go, oh, another mystery of the island revealed.
I'm going to use that.
Hey, where's the bathroom?
Oh.
Another mystery of the island revealed.
Hurley goes up to Boone and asks why they haven't brought any boar back. And at first it seems like he's being a dick. Like it's kind of needy. Like, you know, why aren't you bringing us more food back? Hey, this isn't a game, man. It came off as like out of character for Hurley, but then it turns into this comical plot thread that he's got diarrhea because all he can eat is fruit because there hasn't been any boar and he can't catch fish.
He needs that protein.
So like, I get it now. And then it cuts back to the past. It's Boone.
Back in
They're,
time.
they're rich. He's at a country club with some lady. He gets a call from his sister, Shannon. You can tell she's with her abusive boyfriend in the background. And he's like, I'll come get you. Where you at? And she's in Sydney, Australia. That's where the fuck she is. So it's like, oh, dang.
Where they make movies better.
That's true. We cut back to the present and Boone tells Saeed to stay away from his sister, man.
Stay away.
And Saeed's so gangster about it.
He
It's like,
is.
oh, really? What are you going to do about it?
What are you gonna do?
And he's like, I'll fuck you up. And he goes, oh, well, what if I don't care?
You know where to find me. I'll probably be over here fucking your sister.
Another mystery of the island revealed.
And Locke interrupts. He's like, I found fresh tracks, which in fact he didn't. He's just trying to get Boone away. They need Saeed. Locke tells him,
we
lay
don't want
off.
to make an enemy of him, all right? He's smart and
Yeah,
thrifty.
we need him.
He's got Riz, all right?
For the inevitable island civil war, we need him on our side. He loves to torture people, Boone. Do you want to be tortured? I don't think you do.
I don't think you do.
I don't.
At this point, I was like, Boone, chill out. Like, I obviously didn't know the context of like why he was acting the way that he was, but I just was like, let your sister live.
Yeah.
Let her get.
Now we get it.
Let her, get some ass or whatever, But now we know whatever.
Yeah. If anybody's going to be fucking my sister, it's me.
It's me.
That's what Boone says.
If anyone's going to be topping
Nobody
my
take
sister.
that quote from the
I
pod out
saw
of
her
context.
first.
Yeah.
When we were 8.
We've been living together since we were 8.
I don't know when they got married, though. It might be like a Brady Bunch thing, Like they were both 18.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up? Sister, I guess. I feel funny.
Marsha.
Yeah, Marsh. So yeah, and then Locke says, fuck the boar. Not literally, because I know how you are, Boone. What we're doing here with the hatch is far more important. And Boone's like, is it? We're just staring at this door, right? He's like, Locke's like, no, this is our priority.
And
Lost.
you get to see the hatch in all of its glory.
Can I say,
little
like,
window.
how many days
The wall.
have...
2.
So, like, in my head, they have not made much progress. Am I wrong?
0.
They've made 0 progress.
That's the whole point of the Michelangelo
uncovering
story.
it, though, like, it's just probably like a 2x2. I feel like they could have, like,
That's one of my
uncovered
biggest
more of
problems with this episode too, is Locke is very intelligent, right? And he gives this whole tirade we'll talk about in a second about Michelangelo and how he's planning his strat.
right.
I feel like there's some really smart things you could do, which would include telling everyone and then recruiting their help.
Yeah.
Like
Michael, the engineer, might have an idea on how to
Sure.
engineer something.
dig around the hatch.
Yeah.
See, there must be other walls to it. You could try to find hatches go places to other hatches. Perhaps you could try to hike around and find the other apertures. Maybe this is just an exit door.
Hatches
And
go
you-
places.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's smart things you could do to like figure out where the hatch goes. Cause like
Right.
if it's underground, it has other outlets.
It just seemed like
just
they've
staring
been
at the door
going
seems
out there. Like
counterproductive.
everybody's making this idea. Like they've been going out there several times, and I'm like, okay, so you just went 2 feet by 2 feet and you stopped digging. Like in
Exactly.
my head, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
come on, guys. Like,
How are we going to get in? I don't know. Maybe from the side.
right?
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just very in my notes. I was like, doesn't seem like they've made a lot of progress.
For all they know, it could just be a septic tank.
Oh.
It's just full of shit.
That would be great. Like, this is important. And they open up. Oh, it's just shit in here.
The French woman walks up like, why are you playing with the poo box?
Is that this where we put the poo?
the poop,
Whenever we,
the poo-poo.
whenever we make a poo, we put it in the poo box. That is where we have to put it.
Yeah. Excuse me. Have you guys, I've been trying to wait for you to leave for days. I got to shit. What are you doing?
Why are you guys staring at my poo box?
You're weird.
I would very much like to take a poo.
You look like a sister fucker.
We should get along then.
So Hurley goes to Jack for confidential medical advice. He says he has some stomach issues. He's got the runs. And he thinks Jen has it in for him for turning down the sea urchin. He's been eating nothing but fruit. Jack thinks it's hilarious that Hurley is having a miserable time.
I do love how this whole conversation, Hurley's like picking leaves, and finally Jack's like, "You're not eating those, are you?" And Hurley's like, "These aren't for eating."
For
They're
wiping.
for wiping. And then Jack's spying on Kate gathering seeds, being a real creep. She knows he's there.
How'd you know?
She's got passion fruit seeds. And this is where we find out that Son and she are making a garden. And Kate says Locke isn't catching the boar for them because he's hoarding it. She suggests that maybe he's being a selfish man, right? Because she, as someone who's always shady, projects that onto other people. In this case, pretty accurately, though.
Yeah.
Locke's being weird. Locke and Boone are trying to get into the hatch. Like this episode kind of plays that like it's a reveal, but it's definitely not.
I do think it's adorable that at one point Locke's like, "What are you making in that bowl?" It's a melon.
Oh, you mean Boone says that about
Yeah.
Locke? Yeah.
Yeah, Locke's got his little he's like making
Mortar
a
and pestle
concoction,
kind of thing,
yeah, in his melon. But I do love how Boone like is just playing into the fantasy, like, what's in the bowl, sir?
Well, he's turned the melon husk into a bowl.
Yeah,
You know,
what's in a bowl?
bowl's in the eyes of the beholder.
What's in that melon?
Melon.
What's in that melon of yours,
friend.
Locke?
Melon.
You're my melon.
Aw.
And then they can't get into the hatch. They've just been staring at it. He tells the whole story about, Michelangelo looking at the hunk of marble for 4 months. And 3 years later, it was the statue of David. Mm-hmm. Dick and balls and everything.
Yeah,
Crazy.
the prince or whatever will be like, what are you doing in here, Michelangelo? And he'd be like,
Working.
I am working. But in whatever Italian script that Locke
I like how they didn't even translate the Italian. It just said speaking Italian. And that's what I mean about Locke's mystery. Like, we've seen his backstory. Nothing would indicate that he's fluent in Italian or as good at everything as he is. But I kind of love it. He just, as soon as he had legs, he just blossomed into a warrior.
Man, we're going to learn more and more about Locke's story as the show continues.
I cannot wait.
I need more Locke. I need a spinoff called Lock and Key.
Oh, if that's what that show is about,
I would have watched it.
I
But
would
it's
have watched
called
it.
Locke and Kate.
Ooh.
Oh.
Now we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut back to the past. He arrives in Australia to get Shannon from Brian. And
I don't know why you were saying Lock and Key, and in my mind, I'm like, what would the gin and juice spinoff be? But it like gin.
oh,
Like, who's juice?
Hurley
Hurley.
for sure.
Pee on
Constipated,
my foot, dude.
constipated Hurley.
And it comes to he comes to get Shannon from Brian, and she tells him she's fine, and she's signaling him with the bruises on her face, like it's giving, I can't tell you in front of him or he'll beat us both right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay.
That dude's scary big. Like,
At
that
this-
guy's got a jaw.
And he's Australian.
He's Australian. He's
We
got
know
a
that.
jawline. He lives in a land where everything can kill you.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight that guy.
Definitely not.
Again, at this point, I was like theorizing, what is because I was projecting, we're seeing how Shannon and Boone got on the plane and because they're both Americans.
Correct.
So I was like, they're whatever. And I was like, did they murder this guy?
That's what I thought too. I was with you.
Did Boone kill this guy because he was abusing his sister?
Yeah.
And they're fleeing Australia to get away from, being murdered.
And I love how this episode is you're being weird, audience. He's just hyper protective of his sister
Yeah.
because she's been abused so often.
Right.
And it was almost convincing me. It was selling me on that. I thought they were fucking. I'm weird.
It's like
and then it's boom, they were fucking.
It's she's the damsel in distress, always having bad taste in men that abuse her. But no, she's
A hustler.
a hustler
Yeah.
with a stepbrother
She's
Yeah.
doing a Sawyer on her
on
own
a
brother.
stepmother.
My brother wants this ass so bad. He'll fly over here and give me money. Watch this.
Watch me do
I'll
the
give you
Bruce
half.
reveal thing with my hair.
Hey, just punch me in the face and I'll give you half $50,000. How about that?
Yeah. She does that anyway. That was just sex stuff. She's like, oh, what's this?
What's this?
Hurley asks Jen to show him where he gets the fish, right? And he's convinced that Jen fucking hates him. And he speaks to him in Korean. And he's like, you just said something mean, didn't you?
Yeah, because Jen basically is shushing him away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Boone says they need to tell them. It cuts back to them, meaning the rest of the people. I agree with him. Locke says they're not ready. And then Boone says that at least tell my sister, right? She's smart and special in a lot of ways. She's got great. And he's like, what? Nothing.
Legs that go on for days.
They go all the way
the
up.
golden hair of an angel.
He goes full Joe Dirt. And Locke can tell. And this is when Locke's like, oh my God, dude. You're
Yeah, because he
fucking,
says
aren't you?
I can't keep lying to her, Locke. And he's like, do you feel bad for lying to your sister, or do you feel bad for the way she makes you feel for lying to you, or for lying to her?
Is it weird that you guys are having sex? Is that what you're guilty about? That's what Locke's therapizing him, right? And Locke makes damn sure, and then knocks him out when he turns around. Okay, then you want to do this? Let's do this.
Yeah, he hits him with the butt of his knife right there in the back of the neck. which
Classic
would
TV
probably
knockout move.
Paralyze him.
I mean, it always just knocks people out in the movies.
Yeah.
I like to imagine trying that in real life and then just going, ow! What the fuck, dude? Yeah, 'cause that's what would happen. And then he's got him tied up and he's like, it's what's best for you. And then he puts the melon goop on his head and walks away.
It's time for you to let go of some things, Boone. The island's going to show you some stuff.
Yep. I got some melon jelly for that head. And I think you're going to like it. So we cut back to the past and the Australian police won't help Boone. He says, oh, it's a cycle with her. She always picks up shitty guys, right? Was that fucking Sawyer getting arrested?
Yes.
Yeah. That was Sawyer getting arrested. I love what Sawyer
Crocodile
says.
Hunter, motherfucker.
It was his bottle. I just gave it back to him.
Yeah. Interesting. That's the first time we've seen someone else
In someone
intersect
else's-
with the dream
Yeah, like a
or
flashback.
the flashback. Yeah, I love it.
Wasn't Jen in the background of Jack's episode where like Jack was trying to get his dad?
Oh, at the
At
airport.
the
That's like
airport.
less impressive.
That's true. Because this is out of the airport,
Yeah.
outside of that.
They're all,
connective
obviously we
tissue.
knew they were all on the plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, we find out this is where that we really kind of find out that Rutherford is Shannon's last name. His last name's Carlisle. She's his stepsister.
I know my notes are she's his stepsister. Oh no. Did it hit all of you at this point? Or I guess specifically you.
Like, yes and no. I was still kind of like, I was still holding on to that like innocent pureness. Like, oh, he just really likes it, like wants to protect her.
Yeah, this is where I metaphorically leaned in.
Oh, stepsister.
Oh
Ooh.
no.
It goes
You-
back to
you did
those.
She gets
the
stuck
finger.
in. Yeah, I was like, is she gonna get
Ooh.
stuck in the dryer? Is
Oh
this-
my god.
Have you seen those videos where it's like,
Yes.
stepbrother? It's like the stepsister always trying to seduce the stepbrother, and the stepbrother's like, Megan, what do you want?
Yeah, the comedy ones.
Stepbrother.
Yeah, he's like, what? Yeah. It's
But this is like the worst cop ever because
Oh, yeah.
he's just like, sorry, mate, we can't do anything. We're just the police, not the dating police.
Well, I
like,
think it's pretty accurate, unfortunately.
well,
you
it
know?
is, but also
It is, but
this
I love how
cop is
Boone
a
tries
real-
to flex his mother's wedding business.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard of her. She
and
get
the guy's like, are you going to pay for my wife's
Yeah,
wedding dress?
what the fuck are you on about, mate? Yeah.
Right.
Well, the reason this cop just gives me real piece of shit vibe is he's having this conversation with Boone, who's trying to get his sister protected. And like, almost when the conversation's over, the police officer's like, listen, buddy, we'll make sure that your sister, just like scanning his notes. He can't even remember this woman's name.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
and
oh,
he
what
could
a
at least
piece
be
of shit.
sympathetic. Like, I understand what you're saying. There's just not enough. Legally, I can't do anything unless I have more to go on. He could be more sympathetic about it, right?
Right.
So then we cut to him going up to Brian, who like works on a fucking dock or something.
Brian.
Brian, give me my money, Brian.
Cool whip.
Cool whip. He tells Brian to break up with his sister for $25,000. And Brian's like, no, I love her too much. It's going to take at least 50. Right.
How much is your love for Shannon worth? 50,000.
Yeah. And we cut back to the present. Kate, full on lying.
Oh, we find out, sorry, he's the third dude that he's done this.
Yeah, he spent like $100,000 at least.
Yeah.
Getting his
where
sister.
he just pays these guys off to stop dating Shannon.
He wants her all to himself. We cut back to the present. Kate is lying to Son, right? Like none of what she said was accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, I love to travel. I was on my way to Bali. So full on lying to Son. And then in that moment, she realizes Son speaks English. Like she can just tell that Son understands.
Finally.
Finally.
Well, because she says something kind of funny and Son smirks at it.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, you know what I just said.
Holy shit. I've said all kinds of weird shit to you. I told you I've had these underwear on for 6 days just to tell somebody because my conscience was heavy. I didn't think you could understand. I flip them front to back every other day. I'm not that weird.
I told you that I mouth kiss Sawyer.
For the inhaler he didn't have. And we underwater tickle fighted. I told you so much stuff.
Yeah, and poor Son's like, oh
It's tickle
shit.
fought, by the way. I know.
And Son's like, just don't tell my husband I speak English. I don't care what
Please.
you've done, what you've told me.
So the scene ends with her realizing she speaks English. Because up to this point, only Michael knows, right?
Yeah.
We cut back to Hurley fishing with Jen, and he steps on a sea urchin right after he gives up. Just pee on it, man.
Just do it.
Pee on my foot.
And we're all getting the same vibe that Jen also secretly speaks English. Is this right?
No, there's a really fun moment. I love how they pair this back to back with one another because Son reacts directly to what Kate's telling her by like smiling and giving it away. And Hurley's talking to Jen and Jen's looking at him just like, I don't know what you're saying. Like he like I love the acting there because Jen
Well,
really
but
kind of plays it. He does not know.
He begs him to pee on it multiple times, and eventually Jen goes, "No,
Well, it's because Hurley points at his crotch.
really,
Yeah.
I don't think-
Hurley's like
wiener."
points at his crotch and then points at his foot.
I wouldn't
And-
understand
and
if
Jen's
somebody was like,
no.
if somebody was
No.
like in Icelandic trying to get me to pee on them
Jürgen Flurgen.
from
Flurgen.
from Hurley's miming, I would not have gotten that. You know,
Dick foot? Really?
I don't know.
Okay, well.
Foot job? What?
Foot job?
How's that going to help?
I mean, I guess.
What if he just
Well,
started?
I feel like regardless.
Yeah? No, man.
I feel like Jin, regardless, after the pointing at the crotch was just like, no.
Yeah, whatever you're saying, no.
No.
But Hurley says, do you speak English? We all think you do. You know, I don't know.
Your wife's hot.
Your wife's hot.
That was hilarious.
That was so funny.
And we cut
Do you
back.
understand infection, amputation, gangrene?
Is that a real thing, by the way? I know sea urchins are very painful because when we were in Hawaii, my wife knows a lot about the ocean.
I think they're a little poisonous.
She was like, definitely stay away from those. It's
Yeah,
extremely
I think
painful.
if you step on one, like their spikes have
Venom.
something. Yeah.
Venom. I don't know what's in them. We don't know what's in them. Anyway, Locke accidentally sneaks up on Saeed. Accidentally. Sorry, I didn't know it's so sneaky.
Saeed is orienteering.
Yeah, he's making a compass with like a water and a cork and a something and a needle. And then Locke's like, "You're cool, man. I need you on my team.
I
When
love
the fight
this.
goes
I
down.
was
Here's a real
Webelow.
compass."
Webelow.
Webelow. I love the small little
He likes
character
anime?
moment where he's a weeb. Note, I just wanted to tell you, Saeed, I wanted you to notice me, senpai.
What do you like? Hunter x Hunter or Demon Slayer more?
Demon Slayer for sure. No, I love the subtle character moment where Saeed like pulls out his knife and he's like, "Oh,
And Locke's got his
I
knife
didn't
out
hear
too.
you. I didn't hear you coming up." Like, so Locke is thrifty. He's sneaky.
But also
Yeah.
Locke had his knife out.
yeah,
So what are we supposed to make of that?
I think Locke just likes having his knife out.
He was definitely sneaking on purpose to stab, but maybe not knowing it was Saeed, maybe thinking it might be one of the others or something. But I mean, they're both acting, mostly Locke, less menacing and capable than they really are,
Yeah.
right?
Like Locke's doing I'm just a humble wee below.
I like the acting too that Saeed was limping still, you know, alluding to the injury that he's received recently.
Yes.
But then he gives him a compass, a real compass, and says he doesn't need it anymore. The fuck does that mean?
Because he knows
It's one of the lost and founds.
He has a
knows the
built-in
island.
compass in his brain.
Is that what it is? Or is it because he knows because of the magic of the
Magnetic.
island that the compass doesn't even work?
I think he knows the compass doesn't work, but he knows where true north should be and everything. Because he's that skilled of a huntsman.
And
Of a regional manager.
yeah, the box company taught him all kinds of things. I can tell when it's going to rain because of my breasts. Saeed, I don't need any of this stuff.
Okay,
And
Karen.
We cut
Karen
back to
Locke.
Boone, who hears Shannon calling for help because Locke told him, you know, when you get the right motivation, you'll cut yourself free, which just means you'll be able to owie your arm long enough to grab the knife.
Yeah.
Howie.
You'll stop being a little bitch.
Yeah, he's tied up in a very interesting way where he's got like his arms on different sides of his body.
I get what
He's having
Madison's
to, like,
saying. It's giving one of those sex rope things for sure.
It is, yeah, a bondage
like,
scene.
What's up?
But it's like he has to like T-Rex arm the knife.
I would have loved to cut to Locke in the bushes watching it. Like
He's just like
popcorn.
He's getting fingers full of the paste that he made in that bowl. Like, yeah, get out, boy.
tripping balls.
This is
He's
why
in the tree with Kate.
He's in the hatch just watching through the window.
this is my favorite movie.
Oh gosh.
And then
But we hear like
yeah,
remnants
Shannon's
of the
like, I'm
monster.
tied up too.
Yeah. And then we I'm tied up. Then we hear the monster.
Yeah, the creature's
Were
roaring.
you excited to hear the monster again?
I was.
was.
Thank God. Finally, Boone grabs the knife, finds his sister tied to a tree. Stepsister. We have to be very clear about that going forward. They they both run and hide in like this little grove, and we think the monster's gone, but then it starts banging on the grove. It's a good little horror scene. Very effectively done. And we all thought, aside from Steve, I guess you can kind of remember your first viewing of this episode, that Shannon was really there and that the Locke had like went and gotten her. Is that what you...
So when I initially, because I have written in my notes, I thought it was a hallucination. Like my initial thought was, oh, like the shit that Locke put on his head is making him imagine
Really?
these things. Yes. And I think part of it was because Locke fucking stole Shannon from the camp and like tied her up.
At this
said
point,
that
they've
the
sold him as
campus-
a very capable man.
Well, earlier in the scene before, like when I first watched this, I also thought it was a hallucination because Locke establishes, camp's 4 hours that way if you want to get there.
Yeah.
And then it would take him 8 hours to
He
get
didn't say
there.
4 hours. He said 4 miles.
Oh, I thought he said hours. Anyway, but still, like he also says like before, like the island will show you what it needs to show, what you need to see. So we've already set up that the island will be showing you something.
I think there were hints to express that it was a hallucination, especially when, you know, you had this kind of like upward angle with the camera of Boone, and it was kind of like he looked a little disoriented, and then we started to hear the screams of Shannon and then the monster. So like that's what made me start to believe that it was.
I thought it was a hallucination until it showed her tied to the tree.
Right.
And then
That's
I was
exactly
like,
what
mark?
I thought. And so,
But it never occurred to me that it was the head juice. I thought it was the magic of the island because they're island boys.
the head juice.
was it
Island
the head
boys.
juice?
Exactly. Like since
Boone wants to think so.
I don't think you can say for sure it was.
I've taken a lot of hallucinogens. None of them are as real as what Boone experienced. That's not what it's like.
It
It's
just
like
would make sense
finger tracers and
for
stuff.
Locke to like, he hit him to open the gash and then he put the shit on his head. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
See, I think you could take it that Locke's just what he says is like, you don't want to get an infection out here. I've made an infection paste for your head wound that I gave you. And then Boone's just experiencing what the island gave to Locke early on.
Correct.
Because Locke didn't make
Because
any
later the
paste
line he
and
says,
rub on
that's
him."
what it showed you or whatever. I don't think he was alluding to the hallucinogen.
Yeah.
I think he was alluding
Interesting.
to the monster, and he's just not ready for that yet. So he's saying it was a hallucinogen, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of my.
Because he doesn't say like, yes, it was an hallucinogen. He just lets Boone say it, but he doesn't correct him yes or no either way.
Interesting.
I think he does give an affirmative on that, but I have to rewatch it. But I do think it's kind of a lie, or at least not a whole truth. But yeah, he sees Shannon, quote unquote, tied to the tree, and then the monster chases them, and it's assailing them. We cut back to Saeed asking Jack where North is. He's being coy.
What does Kanye's kid have to do with this?
He says the compass is defective, right? A little bit of magnetism weirdness can explain a few degrees, but not this, right? This compass is shit.
It's defective.
And then it cuts to Shannon asking Boone what he did to Locke, because what'd you do to him? He's awful pissed.
He's rip shit.
He tied me up.
And we cut to the past.
Back in time.
He comes back to Shannon to get her to pack up. She doesn't want to leave. Brian comes in. Brian.
Brian.
And we realize.
What are you doing, Brian?
And Boone realizes that she set him up. She always sets him up. And she knows he'll come give her the money. Back in the present, Locke is just scanning the ocean. He's very mysterious. Jack comes up. Oh, I'm patient, Jack. Don't worry. Yeah, he says, oh, they're migrating out of the valley, according to the boar, referring to the boar, because we've introduced a new predator to their environment, the most dangerous predator of all, humans, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think is means more than he's saying regarding the boar, I think.
Yeah, I think he's being a little metaphorical.
I feel like
with what he's
everything
saying.
Locke says is a little metaphorical.
Yeah, he's been
And it's
awakened.
just-
He's woke.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, Boone, I don't give a shit that you're fucking your stepsister. That's modern.
We're beyond all that.
We got to get in that hatch, right?
It's literal. The
Yeah.
hatch of their feet, just to be clear, Boone. And Jack's, they have a fun interaction. I haven't talked to you in a while. You're a busy man. You are too. Doing all kinds of weird shit. It's a good interaction.
This is so good. I always love seeing Locke and Jack interact because they're,
It's like the leader and the spiritual leader of the group,
Right.
yeah.
It's like your Dumbledore and your Lord of the Rings Gandalf.
Wow.
Full circle.
Gandalf greater than Dumbledore. I just want to throw that out there.
So Locke greater than Jack.
Yes. Locke would fuck Jack up. Jack would be winded immediately. Jack's the bottom.
Sorry, I got winded looking for boats on the horizon.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's the holiday season, the season of gift giving. If you're like me, you've waited until late December to think about it, and now everything that you try to order on a website is not going to arrive until after Christmas. That's the opposite of the holiday spirit. That's stressful. We've got a gift that you can give yourself. You can get a subscription to BetterHelp and give yourself the gift of therapy. If you've never tried therapy before, it's a great way to get into it. You can fill out a questionnaire and get matched with a therapist. And if you don't like them or you're not meshing, it's easy to switch. You can just get another one. And it's all online, so you don't have to stress about the traffic and the driving and the location and all the logistical things that always help you talk yourself out of giving therapy a try. So I think you should do it. This holiday season, lower the stress a little bit. Give yourself the gift of mental wellness. So in the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/streamingthings today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/streamingthings.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays and happy streaming, everybody. This month, we want to give a special shout out to all of our patrons who keep the lights on at Streaming Things, but we especially want to give a special shout out to the super patrons. They are Kaylee Sampson, Stanton Valentino, Anthony Corona, Infamous, Brent Stradamus, Sunshine, Huckleberry Cauliflower, Optimus, Mike from New Hampshire, Brett X, Emily Scarano, Little Tickler, Svento7, Jay Scramo, Haley Anderson, AK Ashley Ray, Adam Busby, Wendy O'Laughlin, Joey Stewart, Jason Hawkins, Big Butthorn, Conrad, Rabbit Dog in a Barbie Car, Charlie Friday, Alexis Adler, Linda Eklund, Emmy, Joe Velez, John Collins, Amber McVeigh, Amanda King, Trisha Bueller, Sun Loving Mortal, Suzanne Rode, Lauren Waller, Jadinklage Morgoon, Jen Robinson, Kalisha Reeves, Aaron Armstrong, Kevin Strother, Ryan Moore, Ashley Powers, Stephen V, Casey McCain, and of course, Enza. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. And with that, let's get back to it.
We cut back to Sun pouring out to Kate that only Michael knows, not her husband. I love the line. It's so on the nose, but have you never lied to a man you've loved? And Kate's like, oh, I do that all the time.
Constantly.
So often.
Girl.
That's like my thing.
Kate's like, let me take you under my wing.
Girl, I kill people. Hurley asks Jen if he speaks English, and then he does the your wife's hot test. And then he makes Hurley eat a sea urchin, which is that supposed to like counteract the venom if you get it in your body, building up a top. Well, what is that?
So I don't really know what this is about. I feel like this might also be Jen's way of like, hey, I offered you this thing and you shot me down.
So you think Hurley's correct that he was offended and this is his test again?
I think so.
And
Eat it and I will feed you.
If you eat it, if you eat it, we're cool. And I just love how he gives it to him and it looks like a little shot glass. Like, take the gloop.
Yeah.
Take the gloop.
Take it.
Because you know that shit's
Past the
cold
lips,
and runny.
down the hatch. And then he throws up the sea urchin. And but
And
Jen
shits
looks
at
really
the same time.
Does he? No. Jen looks really like sympathetic.
What if Jen's a sympathetic vomiter? He's like, oh no. Oh, me too.
And we cut back to Jack giving Charlie his medicine. I think it's aspirin.
I'm sorry. I cannot leave that scene without chastising you. How dare you not say Hurley hurls?
Oh.
It was right there.
It was right there.
You know,
Hurley
you're always there to back
hurls.
me up if I miss a low-hanging fruit.
That's a good one.
That's my jam.
A low-hanging papaya.
All I
Low-hanging
do.
guava.
Jack gives Charlie his aspirin and he checks on him mentally as well. And Charlie's still whiny, right? Oh, am I doing good? I'm stuck on a fucking island. I lost my pregnant friend. It's week 2 of heroin withdrawal, which, by the way, week 2 is you're done. You're done. There's no more withdrawal. And then he asks him about Locke. And then Charlie's like, oh, Locke's my dude. You got beef with Locke? You got beef with me.
He's like, I don't
saved
care
my
how
life.
weird he is.
Yeah, he acknowledges, I think he's weird as fuck, super scary, probably up to some super shady shit.
But he saved my life.
I like him.
Yeah.
I have absolute faith in Locke to save us all, in fact, right? And then Jack's like,
Interesting that you don't like the doctor as much. Really weird. I only walked from the caves to give you an aspirin.
yeah, no big deal.
Guess I don't care.
Yeah, you and the rash guy,
I
super
don't matter.
ungrateful.
That's fine.
Michael, we come up to Michael, who is super
The
ecstatic.
first time that we see him, this whole episode.
And he's like looking in a box, and somebody off camera, I think it's Hurley, it's like, oh, you found your own bag, man. Cool.
But it's not like it's like it's a wooden box, right?
Yeah,
like a
it's
memory
something
box.
sentimental.
Yeah. He's just smiling at it like,
Oh, you can use your own toothbrush. That's neat. And he sees Walt playing with the dog, and like it's like kind of a touching moment where he's like maybe a little content in his fatherhood or something. I don't know what they were trying to give us there, but I got it.
And Hurley gives him his papaya.
And then because he's like, yeah, man, you definitely have. I eat lots of those.
I've been shitting papayas constantly.
And Jen gives Hurley a fish, and it's already been cleaned and prepared for him.
"Aw, so
And Hurley's
sweet."
like, thanks, man. Huh. You ever tried pineapple on pizza, man?
And then she goes back to Sun, and like I just wish I wish we could have known what Jen says to Sun in that moment, because she gives him the whole like, oh, you.
Yeah, they're so happy. They have a good moment. And Kate,
Jack's like, they look so happy.
is Jack say that, or does he say that Kate looks happy? I couldn't tell.
I think Jack Jake from State Farm.
Yeah.
Jack says that they look happy
Yeah.
to Kate.
And Kate says happy. And then
Kate's
he-
like, okay.
and he gives her guava seeds.
He does the
his
classic
peace
like,
offering.
hey girl, hold out your hand.
Yeah. And he puts his dick in it.
Yeah.
Classic. Saeed taught me
What
this
is
move.
this? A tiny stick?
I used to have, when I was younger, I used to have several hand-based moves when I was on a date with someone. Where I'd be like,
Okay. Go on.
I would hold my hand out like this. I'm like, hey, could you hold this for me? Acting like I had something in my hand, and they would like put their hand down, and I was like, thanks.
and you would
So
hold their
I would
hand.
hold their hand.
Dang. Does that work?
It did.
Once.
No,
Nice.
I think I got three.
All right,
I'm 3 for
that's a
3
good
on
number.
that one.
That's a
Dang.
good
Is that how you
number.
pulled Erica?
No,
Set the bar.
I'm no
Hold out
longer
your hand.
I'm no longer in high school.
Nice.
That shit won't work anymore.
That's nice.
We cut to Boone and Shannon, maybe lost. And he said he's defending Locke, even though he's in his mind tied them both up, right? Only Locke's the only one who has a clue what's going on out here. Look, we found a piece of metal, which is a terrible way to describe to her. Like it's his
Yeah.
fault. He misled her at first. She's like, a piece of metal. No, it's a hatch.
Like the thing Rose was carrying last episode. No, something cooler.
Right.
Like a door. That's what a hatch is, Shannon.
I'm doing shit.
And then we get like a crazy jump scare where the monster thing. And
Bro.
I meant to rewind it and slow frame it because it's like we kind of see the monster.
I did that. I went
Was
back.
it like a leg or I mean?
No, there were 2 trees and the monster just like ripped the 2 trees out of the ground.
Oh, it was trees.
It's trees.
Dang.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
And they run
What were you?
I was like, oh.
and Shannon gets snatched up. And that's the end of that scene. Back in
But
the past.
that was so funny. She got ripped up and you just see her feet
Kicking?
exit like
Yeah.
like camera left.
Was she wearing Saeed's shoes?
No. Those ugly ass shoes.
Back in the past, Shannon comes to Boone's hotel
Oh.
and she tells him that Brian took the money and left.
Brian.
He's like, oh, the player got
Brian.
played. Whatever. And she's like, I know why you always come because you're in love with me. And then I put, as I said earlier, ha 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 ha, they fuck. And then it's like the afterward, they cut to like post coitus and he's just like shell shocked.
That framing was so interesting.
And
Yeah.
she's like,
Was this a different director than normal?
Actually, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Because I was very, because I thought there was something wrong with like I thought it was paused. I thought my TV was paused on like that frame. Like it was paused on like this weird frame and then it was going to turn into like light. But no, he was crouched in front of in the forefront of the camera for like
yeah, and he's like
5
still
seconds.
naked, like traumatized.
Yeah. And
She's
she's
like,
like fully clothed.
Put
like,
your pants on, dude. She's like smoking a cigarette. Like, don't
Right.
be a baby about this.
Don't be a bitch.
get it together.
Put your clothes on. We're gonna go back and never talk about this. It's not a big deal.
But it
He's
to
like,
me,
oh,
it was
you're in charge.
It was a very like, I don't know. It was a very like stylistic choice for that, and it was something very different than what we've seen
Yeah,
before.
I mean, they're framing it for the future too. Like this is something that really bothers Boone.
Yeah.
And not Shannon. And he has a lot more feelings wrapped up in it than she does. She's kind of manipulative. I mean, the way they're painting Shannon is
Yeah.
not
little
great.
bit.
Yeah.
Not great.
Because, I mean, she just hustled him for $50,000.
Not for the first time.
But also, like, I mean, the backstory there is, we don't know the context of Boone's mom. Like, was she?
There's a little bit of an allusion to like she doesn't give Shannon any support.
Yeah. So there might be some underlying story
She just
there
knows
that
she's
we're
gotta
not
do to
familiar
survive.
with. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I really liked the last couple shots, like you said, with him staring there shell shocked and that tight shot of him looking ahead and the way that she says like, hey, we'll
just go back.
We'll go back to how it was. We'll go to LA and we'll go back to normal. And he said something like, it's all up to you. Like,
Yeah.
he's just so upset about it.
He's very resentful. And then back in the present, Boone's looking for Shannon. The river's filled with blood, and he sees Shannon's broken body on the rocks, mauled. And at that moment, I knew that he was going to find her alive and well back at the camp.
I was confused. Like, I knew that was going to happen, but I also was kind of like, oh, maybe there's this weird, island thing where she's brought back to life. Like, they have to bury her, and then she,
Like a pet
Zombie.
cemetery.
Cemetery.
Well, that's what I thought when they found Charlie, quote unquote, dead. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's going to be alive somehow, but it's
Yeah.
because he comes back.
Right.
Sometimes dead is better.
Don't go down that road. And then Boone gets back to find Locke sitting at a campfire, clearly waiting on him. And he tries to stab Locke, and Locke flips him over, and he's like, calm down, boy. You know, I'm on top usually. There's no blood on you. If you found her dead, where's the blood? And you can hear Shannon alive, having a great time with Saeed in the background.
Wearing those shoes.
I love these shoes so much.
Was she wearing them?
No.
And Locke says that he drugged him. I do think that there is some kind of admission there to the hallucinogens. And he's like, how'd you feel when you thought she was dead, though? And Boone's like, relieved. And Locke's like,
That's
yes.
deep.
I knew it. No girls allowed at the hatch.
Yeah. Boys only.
Boys only club.
Only Weebelows allowed here.
And then he says, follow me and lose the pants. And that's the end of the episode.
And thus, another mysterious force of the island revealed.
That's right.
Amazing. That was good. I had such a good time with this episode.
So now we get to Beach Please.
Beach
Steve,
Please.
do you got anything for us?
Beach, please. This is the part of the episode where I tell you little trivia tidbits and whatnots about
Bits and bits.
Tids and bits.
Tits and bits.
About the episode we just watched. Guys, I don't have anything for you.
Oh.
I was looking up some trivia that came up in this episode. A lot of the things are things we either already have talked about or would be spoilers to talk about now. The only thing I could really say is that originally Shannon and Boone were not supposed to be fucking. They actually decided, Carlton Cuse, who is the producer of Lost, he came up with the idea like, why don't they fuck? Because they were trying to think of a way to make their relationship more interesting.
He probably watched the previous 2 episodes and was like, seems like you guys are leaning toward them fucking.
Well, they had mentioned that in the previous episodes as they were making it, their chemistry was giving off old married couple vibes. And
Yeah.
so that's where he got the idea of like, well, why don't they have like a sexual relationship and not just be brother and sister?
Yeah.
And so they kind of reworked.
Manufactured the stepsister thing.
Yeah, and this was kind of going in conjunction with the plot, the plan to make Boone a more central, important character. Because we've talked about before how like a lot of the stuff that Boone and Shannon have done so far in this series were supposed to be given to characters that don't exist. And so they had been kind of actively trying to make Boone and Shannon more interesting, more integral to the plot, and mixed with the idea that they wanted to make them a more sexual relationship that they have. I think this is like the first episode where all those ideas are finally coming together, and from here on out, I think Boone especially is much more integral to the story, and it's exciting to go from. That has been Beach Please.
From your boy Steve.
From your boy Steve.
Amazing trivia.
Now it's time for our Mile High Club moments, our top 3 favorite moments from the episode. Madison, lead us with your number 3 moment.
My number 3 is Hurley telling Jen to pee on his foot. I loved the comic relief of all of those scenes with Jen and Hurley, especially the one where he's like telling him to pee on his foot, followed by "Your wife's hot." I don't know. I got a kick out of it. I feel like we haven't seen those 2 characters together a whole bunch, so it was just nice to see them together and interacting the way that they were.
Absolutely. Steve, your number 3.
My number 3 is the last scene of the episode and the Locke leaning in and Boone, what did you see? And I just really like the cryptic nature of the Locke character. And then there's finally one other person on this island that can sort of relate to Locke in some way, because he's always been kind of off on his own by himself. He's not really connected to a lot of people except for maybe Charlie. But now we've got another person that's kind of sort of introduced to the mystical element of the island, and I'm very excited for what that'll bring. And just like you said, Terry O'Quinn's a diamond, and he can like make the most ridiculous thing, like "Where's the blood?" Just even the most ridiculous line of dialogue that character might have, the way Terry O'Quinn delivers it is just so believable.
Yeah,
and
he's
you're
the
just
best actor in the show, I think.
Yeah, you're just enwrapped by that character, and it's all the way he's playing him. He's just aloof, mysterious. Is he bad? Is he the ultimate good guy? You don't really know. And that's why the character's so interesting. And I just like that scene a lot with him and Boone.
I agree. I'm going to give number 3 to Jack and Locke, which I think is just a fun pairing. As I said, it's kind of like the 2 different leaders in this almost theocracy that's developing. You know, you've got like the Pope and the King. And it's just fun to see them interact. And Locke is just so immune to everybody's bullshit. I mean, he has no fear, right? He's capable of taking care of himself. So Saeed doesn't mess with him, you know, but they all kind of I don't know, all of the other type A's.
They're kind of scared of him.
Yeah, all the other type A's are kind of like, this is a wild card, you know? I feel like even Sawyer would be very hesitant to even sarcastically play with this guy.
Right.
And I just think that's a fun dynamic. So that's my number 3, Jack and Locke. Madison, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Steve's number 3, which is Boone learning that everything he experienced was a hallucination or an illusion, whatever. I just think it was a good reveal, especially to go through something super intense as the audience, like, holy shit, like Shannon's dead? Like, no way, right? And then the whole conversation with Locke about the blood and then just kind of spiraling that into them going into the forest. But yeah, that was my number 2.
Steve, you're number 2.
My number 2 is actually, we swapped 2s and 3s. My number 2 is Hurley and Jen, and Hurley just pee on it. Foot, pee on my foot, dude. Like, that's such a really funny delivery.
Yeah.
Hurley's just the best. I feel like every episode, I look forward to seeing who is Hurley paired with. Because so far, every single pairing Hurley's had has always been really enjoyable. Like him and Sawyer a couple episodes ago, he and Charlie when they were doing the golf outing, and now we get Hurley and Jen, and it's just as fun as everything else. And Daniel Day Kim as Jen, like even in that scene, his acting I think is really, really good as this guy who doesn't understand what Hurley's saying, but also he gets the point across like, you're not going to fish well, little boy. Please leave. Like let the men fish. All right. I know what I'm doing. You clearly don't. But you can hang around and try to throw your little sticks with fabric with a t-shirt. Yeah, sure. Yeah. You can try. But I really like that episode. I love those characters a lot.
My number 2 is the same as yours in Madison's number 3. The interaction between Hurley and Jen is awesome. I do love the character of Jen. I think it's one of the most interesting backstories. If I was going to watch a movie of anybody's backstory, it would be Jen and Son, hands down. You know, that is my shit. And but then like the whole your wife's hot, like it's funny. That's me. That's my jam. So that's my number 2, Madison. I can't imagine we don't all have the same number 1. But Madison, what is your number 1?
Well, I don't know. Mine might be different. Mine was the Boone and Shannon tie-up / monster attack sequence. Okay. I knew you guys were going to pick the other one.
I was like, we're on the same page so far.
Or I did have the morning after scene between Shannon and Boone on there as well. There were a lot of scenes to pick from, honestly. But I don't know. I liked the action part of it, the monster being there, because we haven't really had many people interact with the monster up until this point. So it was just nice to see that. Also, I enjoyed the tying up. That was very fun.
You're going to write it in your pirate journal later?
Maybe. But yeah, that was my number 1.
Steve, you're number 1.
Oh, well, actually, I think my number 1 and your number 1 might be the same thing.
I hope so.
Judging, it's when Boone and Shannon fuck.
Yes.
Hey, I love love. I don't know if this is love, but I love it.
It's on one side. It's
on one side, yeah. And I think the acting is really great in the scene, and just the way that.
Sure.
Yeah. I think it is. I think Ian Somerhalder is a very attractive man. I would love to just watch 90 minutes of him brooding in a dark room with those piercing blue eyes and that shaggy hair. Oh my gosh. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
But I also think the scene, specifically the post-coital scene, I think, again, I've said it a couple of times this episode, is like the most artfully done cinematography that the show's had so far, at least in my opinion. Like you could see that in a A24 movie trailer right now. And I just it instantly makes these characters so much more interesting. And it's just kind of like, what is this? Like, even if you don't like this scene, you have to admit, like, it definitely changes the whole dynamic that these two characters have, and also the relationship to the entire show. And it's kind of jaw-dropping. It's kind of crazy, and I fucking love it for it.
I can't wait for the next episode for it to not be addressed amongst everybody else. But in my head, I'm like, They fucked. Oh my God. They grew up together. Like, they fucked.
Imagine from this point on, every time Shannon is like hitting on Saeed, the whole time you're like, where's Boone?
Boone's watching.
Is Boone watching?
Boone's definitely watching.
Is Boone actually over it, or is he going to be watching still?
He's watching.
Oh, wow. I accidentally read a spoiler.
Oh, no.
No.
It's not really, but it kind of is if you take it far enough. But it says this is the only Boone-centric episode in the entire series, is what Lostopedia says.
Thanks.
Lostopedia.
Yeah, I wanted to share my pain with you.
Thank you.
But how many Shannon episodes are there?
I didn't look. I agree with you. I just think if you step back from a writing perspective, the balls to do this in 2004, this is ahead of its time. This is smutty. This is trashy. This is great. And this was a risk. So kudos to whoever, Colin or whatever, Carlton
Cuse.
They leaned into the obvious, I feel like. When everyone thought the obvious, they weren't going to go the obvious.
But you weren't
route.
allowed to speak it. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, I think you're looking at it from a lens of 2023. You're watching a Netflix show. It's like, oh, they fucking. You know what I mean? Whereas in 2004, this is ABC. You're sitting down at night, 7 o'clock. You had a tough day at work. I don't think that's occurring to you. I don't think you're thinking they fucking.
Yeah.
If you look at reviews of this episode from the time, a lot
That's
of
what
it
I was trying to do when I found the spoiler.
Is people are like, this is gross, and you're just it's like people thought it was like a cheap way to make boring characters somewhat more interesting by it being like a shock value thing, which I think there's some merit to that criticism for sure.
But I'm in at the same time.
I'm in. Like,
it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the episode where we talked about like, oh, it was just zooming in on Kate's ass. It's male gazy. You're just trying to throw some candy in there. And I'm like, I hear you. But it worked.
But also I was, again, all from a perspective, like when I really started paying attention to TV, like in my late teens, the stuff that I was watching was kind of progressing away from that, if that makes sense.
The male gaze or the sex with the siblings?
Both. Well, actually, no. Like I feel like not that there's a common theme of like step siblings sleeping with each other, but there were shows that had plots like that.
Oh yeah, I mean this is back to, like I said, Brady Bunch did it in the 60s.
Yeah, and I feel like didn't the Fosters also have like
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends?
No, the ABC Family show.
No, I never watched the Fosters.
I don't know, but anyway, like
There's War of the Roses.
So I can understand like you guys being, I don't know how old you were in 2004, but
16.
But like that's your interpretation of like prime TV, and then my interpretation of prime TV is different. So it's just like my interpretation of this television is going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a bold move, and
at the time, absolutely.
And I love it. Like I just didn't see it coming.
But it opened the doors for so many more step sibling relationships.
Oh yeah. This episode walked so Cersei and Jamie Lannister could run.
Actually,
I know the books came out first, but
it was already
on
out.
TV.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I'll pull some quotes of people who reviewed this episode at the time. Ryan McGee from Zap to It characterized the episode as, quote, having a weak backstory with a creep-tastic ending.
Creep-tastic.
Although he enjoyed Locke for being, quote, incredibly sage and incredibly terrifying all at once. In Finding Lost, the unofficial guide, Nikki Stafford critiqued the writers for having some of the characters act this is the Jack and Kate being jokey and sweet. And then someone from the Houston Chronicle, Therese Odell, I think that's how you pronounce it. She called it, quote, profoundly weird and described it as a transition episode. But I guess she went back and reviewed it after all the episodes came out, and she praised the lovely exploration of Boone's character. So I guess like over time, her opinion changed. Like, oh, actually, this is a good exploration of this character.
It is a turning point, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Now it's like I have more faith that they could surprise me again, not just in mystical ways, where they can kind of Deus Ex Machina my shock, but in like character ways, So
now I'm interested to see remember that Lost season 1 episodes ranking lists we found?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where this one is.
If I had to guess, probably mid-tier.
It's 23rd out of 25.
So they hate
on the
it.
IMDb ranking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's up. See there. I just have a different kind of taste.
Yeah.
I'm literally
because that other episode I had very high as well. The one was it 12? The way we're talking about, and I was like, I love it.
Whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I like whatever the case may be, and I love Hearts and Minds. Yeah,
I'm looking up 7 most inappropriate sibling relationships in TV and movies.
Okay.
Surprisingly, Shannon and Boone are not on it, but
Rosalie, they were down for that.
Rosalie, Emmett, Jasper, and Alice from Twilight. Do you remember?
They're not even really siblings.
Did you guys know that? Well, neither are Shannon and
Exactly.
Boone. But did you guys ever watch the show Life with Derek?
No.
Yeah.
That was another show of that I grew up watching, but their families are joined together by the mom and the dad.
Like a
marrying.
Brady.
Yeah. And the sexual tension between the two of them was absolutely crazy. Luther and Allison Hargreaves from the Umbrella Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon Foster and Callie Adams Foster from the Fosters. Cesare and Lucrezia Bordry from the Bordry. I don't know who those characters are. Norma Bates and Caleb Calhoun from Bates Motel. And then Cersei and Jamie Lannister, Game of Thrones.
Number one. Yeah.
Number one.
That's definitely highly inappropriate.
Yeah.
I love it, though.
But
With the murder and all the other.
The things I do for love shoves child out window.
I love that.
Episode fucking 1.
I know. God, fuck, I love that show.
Yeah. So now it's time for our passenger princess, our favorite performance of the episode. We'll go around the room one last time. Madison.
Mine is Ian Somerhalder, Mr. Boone.
Mr. Boone himself.
A lot of physical acting, a lot of emotional sex scene acting. So, and obviously
I love that little
was-
like eye roll when
sexy
she kissed his ear.
Yeah.
I was like, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really well done. It was like I've been waiting so long for this kind of, I thought it was salacious.
It was certainly
Stop.
was that.
Don't, but do.
No way.
Stop,
Don't
lower,
come back.
lower, higher.
It's what I
lower.
imagine Steve and I's union will one day be, just Steve, stop. We're supposed to be editing.
I'll be like, it's okay. It's okay.
He'll say, hold out your hand.
Can you hold
on to
this for me?
Steve, who are you nominating?
For a while I considered giving it to either Daniel Day Kim or Yunjin Kim, Sun or Jin, just because I really liked their Sun for being discovered that she speaks English, and then Jin for not speaking English. Like I just like that subtlety. But at the end of the day, I just keep going back to Ian Somerhalder's 1,000-yard stare post coitus, and I just think that's such a striking image, and he's a striking man. And I really just want to give it to Ian Somerhalder. I really want to give it to Ian Somerhalder.
Give it.
So I'm going to give it to him.
We're so close to a we all everybody because I think Ian Somerhalder is not the obvious choice. That sounds condescending, but he deserves it. It's very, very good performance. But I have to give it yet again to Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah,
I think that reviewers
That's a good one.
said it very well. He's both sage and terrifying because he is. He's a scary man, in a way that I think is such a subtle performance to kind of balance on that tightrope. And he does it so well, and it's so entrancing.
I want to change my vote now.
And I think he's like the MVP of the show. He's holding it all together on as far as like the mystery and the intrigue. And for good reason, because his character, again, is the only person who knows for a fact that there's something supernatural occurring here because he can walk, right?
Yeah.
And nobody else, so he has a leg up over everyone else.
God damn it.
Come on, guys.
There you go. I'll give it to you.
So I'm giving it to Terry O'Quinn. And that brings us to
I
our
like that.
Lost and Found. I mean, on the one hand, we definitely have more mysteries added, but do we? We still don't know what's in the hatch. We don't really know what
We've already talked about the hatch.
Locke's deal is.
The only one that I had added was what was in Michael's luggage. That made him
That's
smile.
true. That's true. What's in Michael's luggage? I think that'll probably be a small mystery solved very soon.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be funny if it wasn't. If it was like
When we finally get Michael's
the
episode.
heart of the ocean from Titanic or something. We're like, what? And it's like this huge thing.
So yeah, what's in Michael's luggage?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
box?
Yeah.
It's Charlize Theron's head.
Can Jin speak English?
Can Jin speak English? Is that okay?
I mean, I feel like he can't because Steve's seen the show
Well, I
before.
guess that's-
He's telegraphing. But I do think that it was a little nebulous in this episode.
Okay. I'll write
Does
it down.
Hurley poop? Does he finally go poop?
I think he it's the opposite of constipation. That's his issue. I think it's diarrhea.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, but a lot of the other
Because
episodes,
there's a lot of fiber in fruit.
There is. I think a lot of the mysteries that are brought up in this episode are sort of rehashed from the previous. It's a lot of like, what is Locke steal? What is the monster?
Yeah. Is Jack bipolar? Might be a question.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because he's just suddenly like, hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate. We're best friends.
I love you. I know you kill people, but you're hot.
You're hot. I love what
Which is fair.
You really pull off the Shaggy.
It's what I call the poison ivy effect.
The green and the brown pants really do it for me.
Same.
Love it.
Green shirt, brown pants.
Get that fatigue look. That brings us to the close of our coverage of episode 13. Next week, look forward to episode 14, of course. But this week, later on, you're going to get us to hear us review The Other Sister
From 1999.
from 99. One of the best years in film. So there's
a
that.
great year in film.
Yep. So that's coming up next week. And if you missed it, check out the Wrapped episode, which is our highlights, the fan voted best moments of the show from 2023. Steve put a ton of work into that. The patrons put a ton of work in flagging those moments.
So fun.
And it is a treat. We love you all. Thank you so much for listening. But we've got to go return some videotapes. My name is Chris. Chris Laser.
My name's Madison.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Streaming Things. And that is for sure. Happy streaming. You ready? Daddy?
Ready.
Can I call you Daddy?
I wish you would.
Daddy Top Steve.
Definitely bottom.
Yeah.
Daddy Bottom Steve.
He's done when I tell him he's done.
Can I be done?
No.
I have stuff I gotta go to the bank.
Go to the bank.